Can our dying or unconscious loved ones hear us? You've probably seen this in movies, you've probably seen this in television, and people are always wondering, can our loved ones who are dying or unconscious hear us? So the short answer, yes. I'm happy to tell you, we do think your loved one who is unconscious, not even responding to you, can likely hear you. This is because there has been EEGs, which are electrodes that go all over the brain on dying people and unconscious people, and those EEGs have showed that the hearing sensor of the brain has been the last thing to shut down before someone dies. Or if they're not dying and they're just unconscious for whatever reason, it shows that that hearing sensor doesn't shut down just because they're unconscious. So we do think they can hear us. Even if they're not actively responding to you, we still think they can hear you. Now, hearing and comprehension are two different things. So yes, we think they can hear you. Can they comprehend exactly what's going on? That's a little too tough to know. However, we can say that people who have been in comas and then have come out of comas, a lot of them will say, yes, I heard you, and yes, I understood you, and yes, it was comforting. So studies have been done on actively dying people on their brains to see what part of their brain was shutting down. And the hearing sensor part of the brain was the last part to shut down. Hence why we think hearing is the last sense to go in an actively dying patient. So that is why we always say to talk to your loved ones during all of the dying process, but definitely during the actively dying process, even if they're not responding to you, because like I said, we do think the hearing sensor of the brain is the last to shut down. So as many of you know, I was an ICU nurse for many years, and I've had many ICU patients come out of comas or sedation and tell me that they recognize my voice, they heard my voice, they heard their parents in the room, their sister, whoever was in the room speaking. They would say, I could hear you guys, and I felt comforted by the music that was playing, by the words that you were saying to me. And like I said, they would even say, and I recognize your voice, you're my nurse. So of course, not every patient I had said this, but many patients did. So this is another fascinating study that I'm going to watch along with you guys and react to what I'm hearing.
4 years ago, Godfrey Katniss was a new dad.
It has to be devotion to God when things are going badly.
And an inspirational youth pastor in Southern California.
Southern California, that's where I'm at. Woo-hoo.
Then a blood clot in his liver sent the 32-year-old to the hospital.
He had 3.5 feet of intestine taken out, and then he had a brain hemorrhage that required a 9-hour surgery.
A medically induced coma saved his life, but doctors feared Godfrey would never wake up. Corinth never lost hope, though, and talked to her husband constantly.
Just side note, this is the exact kind of patients I would see in the ICU. So this man was very, very sick.
I would tell him he needs to get out of his coma. Just prayed, read to him, told him how his daughter was doing.
Neuroscientist Teresa Pape believes in the healing power of those voices. In a groundbreaking study, Pape performed brain scans on 15 coma patients, including Godfrey Katniss. When patients heard unfamiliar voices, brain scans showed little activity. But when they heard close relatives calling out their names or talking, the scans lit up. Pape's team also asked the families to record stories loved ones would recognize and play them repeatedly for a month and a half using headphones. The stories were played for 8 of the patients, including Godfrey. The other 7 only heard silence. The 8 patients that heard the stories recovered significantly faster.
Wow. Okay, did you guys hear this? So I love when studies like this are done at hospitals. I feel like they're not done enough. That's basically showing and proving that people in comas, hearing loved ones' voices, and even being told stories that they're familiar with, or hearing voices that they're familiar with, can help with healing. I mean, I think that shows a huge, it shows that connection matters. Connection matters.
We think we're exercising those connections in the brain, and we think that that's helping us see the recovery of awareness.
After 3 months, Godfrey came out of his coma severely disabled but cognitively intact. He writes devotionals for his church with his iPad, which also helps him communicate.
I thought it was kind of comforting to think that they were there with me.
Talking to your loved one doesn't guarantee they'll come out of their coma, of course, but it certainly can't do any harm, and there's now evidence that they can hear you even if they can't respond. Even a severely injured brain can be rehabilitated.
There you go. So what I think is interesting specifically about this is that the people in the coma aren't necessarily saying, I remember hearing you, right? But their brain scans and then their the way they recover are showing that even if they don't remember hearing you, hearing their loved one still played a significant role in their improvement in life and how they rehabilitated themselves in the future, which is wild. So even if they don't know they're hearing you, you speaking to them and their brain hearing you helps. You know, so I think we're always discovering new things about our body. Science is always discovering new things. And I think it's cool. And this study specifically shows that connection between people matters and can actually show improvement in how we recover. And from a hospice nurse standpoint, whether we recover or not, I think connection is key, and knowing that our bodies can take care of us even at the end of life is key. So have you guys ever experienced this? Did you talk to your loved one while they were dying or while they were in a coma? What has been your experience? I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and follow for more death and dying information.